Ghost of Tsushima was one of the most anticipated titles of the year and will certainly be one of the final big titles for this console generation. A samurai-focused open-world action-adventure with breathtaking visuals, what's not to be excited for? Developers Sucker Punch Productions are no strangers to success. While the catalogue isn't large by many standards, the quality of the infamous and Sly Cooper series have been consistently high. Due to how incredible this game looked, playing Ghost of Tsushima was a no-brainer for me, and for the most part I was not disappointed. Now, many people have already labelled this as their game of the year. Personally, I wouldn't go that far, but there is a lot to love about it, so let's get into it and find out why. Before we do, if you like this review, it would help me out a lot if you hit the like button and also subscribe for loads more RPG content from both the past and current generations. Alright, let's get into it. Ghost is set in 1274 when the Mongol fleet lands on the Japanese island of Tsushima. The main character Jin joins his uncle Lord Shimura and his army to repel the Mongol invasion. But the battle doesn't go so well and just about everyone dies, with Lord Shimura also being captured. The narrative is essentially about Jin uniting with his uncle and other survivors and taking back the island. There's also a huge focus on Jin coming to terms with staying true to the samurai way, but also dealing with his actions that reject the samurai way. Having to resort to sneaking around and assassinating foes is something that greatly conflicts with the samurai culture and his upbringing. This then leads to some complications as the narrative progresses. The main story has some awesome moments, so Ghost definitely gets the thumbs up in this area. There isn't really too much more I could ask for a samurai game of this genre. As you would expect with any open world game, there are loads of side missions to keep you busy. Firstly, there are the character side missions that were really awesome. Each of the characters that team up with Jin have their own personal conflicts, and you can help them resolve these issues through completing several quests with them. Here, the storytelling is really good and the variation of objectives is decent enough. I did every one of these and enjoyed them all. The other side missions are a lot more generic. By talking to random NPCs on the island, they'll give you some information of some sort of issue happening nearby. These ones were quite repetitive and I lost interest in completing them all at around the halfway point of the game. The one single defining feature that I'll remember Ghost of Tsushima for is its visuals. It is absolutely beautiful, and I would even go as far to say that it's perhaps the best looking environments that I've ever seen. At times, it's even more beautiful than real life, somehow. The way that they have utilised the wind really helps with this. Seeing trees move with each gust as well as the leaves and flowers moving, it's amazing. In fact, your current objective is even communicated to the player through the wind. With a swipe of the touchpad, the wind will blow in the direction of your marked destination. This is awesome, and as far as I know, Ghost is the first game to do this. Sometimes all I wanted to do was ride my horse and admire the scenery. There are loads of different biomes on the island, and just about all of them look jaw-droppingly gorgeous. To really highlight the beauty of the game, Ghost also features a photo mode. Personally, this isn't really my thing, but I can certainly appreciate the thoughtful mechanics that have been put into this system. You really can get some stunning shots, and I know a lot of people who just can't get enough of this. Kurosawa mode was also part of Ghost's marketing. Basically, there's a black and white mode that reflects the style of traditional samurai films. Sure, this is cool, but there's no way I would want to sacrifice the colours of these gorgeous environments. To put it simply, exploring the island was the best part of Ghost for me. I am a big fan of the Fog of War system, as it always fully motivates me to explore as much as I can to reveal the map, so explore I did. There are loads of points of interest scattered around the world, and these also act as fast travel markers once discovered. Some of these include fox dens, which allow you to follow a cute little fox to a small shrine, which will ultimately provide better equipment for Jin. There's also hot springs to increase your health, or Inari shrines, which takes an excessive amount of jumping and climbing to reach, but are so rewarding once you finally get there, not just for the reward but also for the beautiful view that you get of the island. Initially, I felt that finding all of these different types of locations, uncovering the map and just experiencing the beauty of the world would never get tiring. However, after 100%ing the first of 3 areas, I lost a bit of motivation to do so, and this was mainly due to the lack of unique locations in terms of functionality. For instance, if there was a huge undiscovered area to the west, I knew that the only thing that would be there would be the things that I've already discovered countless times, such as fox dens, shrines, hot springs, or Mongol-occupied villages. Some more unique incentives is something that I really grew to desire, and this was probably my biggest issue with the game. In all honesty, after the halfway point of the game, wanting to see the beauty of the world was the only real source of motivation to explore that I had. Putting the breathtaking visuals aside, the combat system is the next best thing. At its core, it's a simple action style. Jin has a light attack, a strong attack, and both dodge and block buttons. A unique mechanic here is the 4 different stances that provide advantages over the 4 different close range type of enemies. These are sword, shield, spears, and brutes. Breaking the stance of a shielded enemy, for instance, will be much easier if you're attacking in the shield type stance. There's also a resolve meter. This can be built up by successfully attacking enemies, and you can choose to spend them on healing or special attacks, so managing this is important. To put it simply, the combat is awesome, and the feeling of timing a perfect parry and dispatching all of your foes without taking a hit was a great feeling. This is something that I never got sick of. Initially, it took a while to get used to the lack of lock-on. Instead, there will be a lot of manual camera rotations to keep track of your foes. For the most part, this worked well enough, but it did often cause me to swing in the wrong direction or just miss an enemy, and this was annoying. In addition to taking on enemies with your sword, there's also your bow, as well as a load of ghost weapons such as throwing kunais and smoke bombs. The amount of options that you have in battle was impressive, however selecting these on the fly is more difficult than it should be. For instance, to activate your explosive arrow, you first have to hold down L1 and press right on the D-pad to select the bow, then R1 and triangle to select your arrow type. The problem is that all of this is in real time, so unless you can memorize the button combination for every weapon and ammo type, chances are that you'll be attacked while doing so. I would have liked some time slowdown or less fiddly mechanics here. Also worth mentioning is the story-based 1 vs 1 duels, which really put your skills to the test as they don't allow you to use ranged or ghost weapons. It's just you and your sword, and this was pretty cool. In terms of difficulty, I ran Ghost on hard mode most of the time as I found medium was a little too easy. There's also the newly patched lethal difficulty, which is a great challenge to those who are good at not getting hit, unlike myself. Another unique mechanic is the standoffs. Yep, these are just like the ones you see in all those classic samurai films. Standoffs are completely optional, and by initiating one pre-combat, you can go and dispatch a few foes without taking a hit, thus giving you a huge advantage. This was a great idea. Basically, you hold down triangle and release it the moment that the enemy starts to attack you. The fact that they often fake their advance makes it pretty challenging, particularly towards the end of the game. In fact, I went from not once losing a standoff in the first area to not once winning one in the last area. I just didn't have the superhuman reflexes required to do it properly here. Was this just me, or did you struggle with these towards the end of the game too? Let me know in the comments. As I said before, the combat is great. However, if you don't want to run in all guns blazing, you can approach each area through stealth. My personal strategy was almost always start off with stealth, then when I'm seen, engage everyone in combat. The stealth mechanics here are simple, but work well enough. You basically crouch around the place, hiding in long grass or behind obstacles, and either sneak up behind enemies to assassinate them or try to headshot them with an arrow. Most of the time this is enjoyable, but the AI is often so stupid that I felt bad for them. For instance, at times an enemy will blow a horn to alert others that you're nearby. Meanwhile, Fred, who is standing right next to him, doesn't even seem to notice. But really, it isn't that bad, and overall I felt the combination of stealth and action combat worked well. After completing missions or killing enough enemies, you'll obtain technique points, and these can be used to teach Jin unique skills. There are several main categories of skills to learn, and these will significantly alter your playstyle. Some are dedicated to your stealth abilities or ghost weapons, while others increase your melee abilities. There were a lot of great upgrades here, but I was a bit disappointed in how easy it was to learn them all. I explored most of the world and did most of the side quests, yet I learned every possible skill with ease. Being an RPG nut that I am, I wanted more choice in personalizing my character growth rather than every Jin ending up the exact same. The other major way to upgrade Jin is through finding and upgrading your equipment. Through gaining the required materials, the power of your sword and bow, and the capacity of all of your ghost weapons can be increased. Armor, on the other hand, is a little different, as you can actually obtain different types, which can then be upgraded individually. The Ronin attire, for instance, helps with stealth, while the Sakai clan armor increases your health and damage. Each armor has its own purpose, and this leads to frequently changing it on the fly depending on which situation you're in. Up to 6 charms can also be equipped at a time, and these provide a range of bonuses to further alter your playstyle. This was all good, except for the fact that you can't save specific sets, which I felt was desperately needed due to my constant changing from stealth to melee playstyles. I can certainly see why many gamers are putting Ghost of Tsushima in the Game of the Year talks. The fact that video games actually look this amazing is something that I never would have thought possible 15 years ago. The absolute beauty of the environments is the one thing that I will always remember as Ghost's defining feature. There aren't too many big games out there set in this era, and I think that Ghost does a great job in creating a world and telling a samurai tale set in these times. The mix of stealth and action-based combat also works well from both a mechanical and story perspective. I love the combat and really can't wait for the recently announced co-op multiplayer mode to release so I can experience it all over again. Ghost really doesn't have any glaring flaws. It plays it very safe, and aside from a few fiddly controls and some repetitiveness with the exploration, this game is rock solid in most areas. What did you think of Ghost of Tsushima? Let me know in the comments. This was Hellfire RPGs, thanks for watching. If you like this, hit like and sub for way more RPG content. Also, come say hi on the socials. See you next time.